Yeah, unmuted. We're ready to go? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Janie Clanton. I will be the chair this morning. And basically what this is the Board of Nursing is made up of 13 members. We have 7 RNs, 4 LPNs, 1 physician, and 1 consumer. We are a three-member panel this morning, and we have Laura, which is virtually Laura Moore. She'll be serving as the alternate. She will not participate in either the deliberations or the decisions concerning this case this morning. This morning we have Miss Shirley Jackson.
Good morning.
We also have Miss Sandra Culpepper.
Good morning.
And right here to my right, we have Mr. Edward Wiggins as the Assistant General Attorney this morning.
Good morning.
And I would like to start off with a prayer. If Miss Shirley, would you lead us in prayer this
I
morning?
will. Thank you. If you all will please bow your heads. Father, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for another beautiful day. Thank you for blessing all of those that are in attendance and all of those that are around the world. Father, help us to make proper decisions from the truth and honesty of what we have before us. Bless us, Father. Help us to understand the reasons why we are truly here, and help all the attendees know that what they have done will be rectified and what they plan to do in the future will be left on their souls. Father, if you will, guide us in the right directions and keep us all safe and protected under your wings. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
All right, good morning, everyone. Once again, my name is Edward Wiggins. I'll be serving as the hearing officer for today. We will begin with a few ground rules. We will begin these proceedings with opening statements. Since this is a restoration, we will begin with the licensee. You will be subject to questions from the counsel for the state, as well as members of this panel and myself. At the conclusion of the presentation of both sides, we will have closing statements. The board will then make findings of fact and conclusions of law and will render its decision in the matter, a copy of which will be forwarded to the licensee within 30 to 45 days. At this time, I will ask that witnesses be sworn in. Ms. Barrett, do you have any witnesses besides yourself?
No, sir.
Counsel, do you have any witnesses?
No.
I ask that you be sworn in.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're going to give will be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Ms. Barrett, you understand you have the right to be represented by counsel.
Yes.
You are not represented by counsel, is that correct?
Correct.
With this matter today.
Yes.
You understand you have the right to have witnesses testify on your behalf. You also understand you have the right to have subpoenas issued on your behalf by the board. Thank you. For the record, I'd just like to announce that there is a quorum present. These hearings are open to the public. The board may deliberate to make its decision in executive session. At this time, counsel, do we have any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to move for the introduction of exhibits B1. They've previously been marked through B8, if there's no objection.
Do you have any objection to those exhibits, Ms. Barrett?
No.
And I believe specifically B8 contains the application that Mrs. Carter filed for restoration.
Thank you. They will be admitted. Anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
At this time, Ms. Barrett, have an opening statement. You may make it.
Yes, Your Honor. I would just like to state that after I lost my brother in 2013, I was introduced to drugs by my spouse at the time. And going into that, not knowing what was going to come out of it, thereon, it became an abusive relationship where I was abused daily. At this time, I was working as a nurse. And I'm not putting blame on anyone. I do take full responsibility for my actions and, for taking the medication from my job. I just want to say that, I was made to do things in my relationship that I did not want to do. Being in an abusive relationship, mentally, physically, and having a drug addiction on top of that, I have grown a lot since then. And during that time, not only did I lose my nursing license, I lost custody of my children. Since then, I've gained custody of my children back. I attend my AA meetings 3 times a week. I chair meetings. I have a great support group. That's all I have to say this moment. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Council.
Good morning. My name is Deanne Salzman. I'm a Special Assistant Attorney General with Mississippi Attorney General's Office, and I'm here today representing the Mississippi Board of Nursing. Mrs. Carter is asking this panel today to restore her license in the state to practice practical nursing, and the burden of proof is on Mrs. Carter to show any and all evidence as to why restoration should occur in this case. Mrs. Carter was first licensed as a practical nurse in this state in February of 2012. On January 17, 2015, Mrs. Carter stole 60 hydrocodone pills that had been prescribed to a patient while she was employed as an LPN at Martha Coker Nursing Home in Yazoo City, Mississippi. Mrs. Carter admitted her actions, and the facts surrounding the incident are not in dispute today. Mrs. Carter's actions were of such severity that they resulted in criminal charges being filed against her in the Circuit Court of Yazoo City. On December 1st, 2015, Mrs. Carter entered into a drug court program. In February of 2016, the disciplinary hearing surrounding her license was held. Mrs. Carter failed to show at that hearing. The panel in her absence concluded that Mrs. Barrett had engaged in unprofessional conduct by misappropriating drugs and illegally possessing drugs. The panel additionally concluded that Mrs. Barrett acted negligently with respect to the health and safety of a person that was in her care. In so finding, the panel revoked her license for a period of at least 1 year. The final order revoking her license was entered in August of 2016. Mrs. Carter completed the drug treatment program on March 26, 2020. As a result of completing this drug program, the state moved to dismiss the criminal charges that were pending against her, and the charges were expunged from her record. The following year, on June 25th, 2021, nearly 5 years after her license was revoked by this board, Mrs. Carter filed an application seeking restoration of her license. When considering Mrs. Barrett's request for restoration today, I would ask this panel to carefully consider the following factors: the severity of the action that resulted in the revocation of her license, the conduct of Mrs. Carter prior to the revocation of her license, her compliance with the restoration requirements. I'd ask the board to consider whether she's in violation of the applicable statutes, rules, or laws. And I'd ask to look at her rehabilitative efforts, to consider her competency to practice nursing, how long it's been since she last practiced nursing, and lastly, her ability to safely practice nursing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think just for the benefit of a clear record, the application for restoration received actually indicates Kimberly Barrett. That Ms. Barrett has, since the filing of this application, married. So Carter is her married name. So if those names are interchangeable, we are referring to the same licensee. Ms. Barrett, you may proceed with your presentation to the board for restoration of your license.
Yes, sir. Where do I? Okay.
Yeah, just whatever you want to have to share with the board panel in support of your restoration.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I completed the drug court program. It was a rough road for me. I had went through a lot of changes in my life during those course of years that I was in the drug court program. I will say this, I did admit to taking the medication from my job. The investigator came to Martha Coker Nursing Home in Yazoo City, and I admitted to it. I had guilt in my heart and shame. And that guilt and that shame in my heart that I had for doing that, it kept me sick for so long. And something that I've learned in recovery is learning to accept what has happened. And over the years, I've learned to accept what has happened, and I have been doing my best to make it better, to make it up. And I completed the drug court program. This has been a goal of mine, is to get my nursing license back. I worked extremely hard to get my nursing license. I went through a lot of obstacles in my life. While I was in nursing school, I was a single mother. I worked full time. I went to college full time. I had a vehicle that just would not. You never knew when you woke up that day if it was going to crank or not. It was just, I went through a lot to achieve that in my life. And, just to lose it over that, like, that really hurt me. And, like I said, I've learned to accept a lot of things in my life since then. I've been clean and sober for 2.5 years now, by the grace of God. And, within that 2.5 years, I've had gainful employment the whole 2.5 years. I've been a waitress. I've gotten custody of my children back. I have a stable home. I've gotten married. I've gained trust back of my family. And, I attend my meetings. I chair my meetings. I have a big support group where I go to my meetings at. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Ms. Barrett?
Yes, Ms. Barrett, I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would, just as the hearing officer stated previously, your married name is now what?
Carter
And previously, what was your last name?
Barrett.
So if I use those interchangeably, I am still referring to you.
Okay.
Could you please tell me your educational background?
Yes, ma'am. I obtained my GED in 2007. I attended Hines Community College in Vicksburg from 2000. Well, I graduated nursing school in 2021. And so from 2000, I graduated nursing school in 2012. So I went to school from 2019 through 2012 at Hines Community College in Vicksburg.
Okay, you said you went from 2019. Did you mean 2009?
Yeah, my bad. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm
No,
so
that's
nervous.
fine.
Okay.
So from 2009 to 2012, you attended Hines Community College in Vicksburg,
Yes, ma'am.
and you received what kind of degree did you receive?
I took the first 2 years, I did general studies. I worked on getting my prereqs for RN while I was waiting to be accepted into the practical nursing program, because my goal was to, when I finished the practical nursing program, to go back to school to receive my RN.
And after completing your education there, were you licensed by the Mississippi Board of Nursing?
Yes, ma'am.
And what year is that?
That was in 2012. So I think I graduated in 2011.
And if you would, after being licensed, please tell us chronologically where you worked.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the first place that I worked at was Martha Coker in Yazoo City was the first place of employment. And that was April of 2012 through April of 2015. Then the next place I attended was the Sharkey Issaquena Nursing Home in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, from May 2015 through August 2015. And at that time, I was under investigation. So from September 2015 through December of 2007, I did not work as an LPN.
And it's my understanding that you're here today requesting this panel restore your license. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you would, please turn with me to what has been marked as 6B. It's the final order.
Okay.
Could you tell this panel what the date of that final order was?
Yes, ma'am. The date.
Should be on the third page of the order.
The date of the final order was September 14th, 2015.
So what'd you say the date of the final order was?
September 14th, 2015.
Where do you see that?
On the third page under the final order tab.
Looking at that order. I believe you're looking at the order that suspended the
yes.
license that was dated September the 14th, 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would turn to the next page, 2 pages over, there's a document called a final order.
Okay.
If you look at the third page of that final order, would you please tell the panel what the date of the final order was?
August 10th, 2016. Or
And if you would, look at paragraph 5, which is on page 2 of this final order. And is it true that you admitted taking hydrocodone for your own use by taking a card that contained 60 pills prescribed for a patient, a narcotic count sheet from Martha Coker home, and placing those documents into your vehicle?
yes, ma'am.
And you don't dispute doing this, is that correct?
Yes.
And what did the board ultimately do with your license at that time?
So at that time, they had an investigator come to Martha Coker to investigate the case, and I admitted.
Your license away ultimately?
Not at that moment. The following year, I was to come in front of the board for a hearing.
Did you show at that hearing?
No, ma'am.
Why did you not show at that hearing?
At that time, I was in treatment at Fairland. So December of 2015, I was ordered to the drug court program of Yazoo County. And as one of the stipulations for the program was you have to go to in-house treatment. And so I went to treatment in January of 2016. And I was in treatment at that time. Someone had contacted me from the board on that day to verify that I did take the medication and I was willing to have my nursing license revoked at that time.
How long were you in in-house treatment at Fairland?
So I was there from January 2016 to June 2016. I was there for 6 months.
And then once you completed that treatment, did you go into any other treatment programs?
I did, but it was in 2017.
So from June of 2016 to what time frame in 2017 did you go back into treatment?
July 2017.
How long were you in treatment? You went
Um,
back in July of 2017.
I was in treatment. I went to jail first. Drug court sent me to jail in June of 2017. I went to primary treatment in July for 30 days, and then I went to secondary for 60. So I was in treatment for 90 days.
Why did you go to jail in June of
Drug-
2017?
For failing a drug test.
So you attended treatment, just I want to make sure my timeline's correct, from January of 2016 through June of 2016.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that drug screens are part of the drug court program. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so sometime around June of 2017, the following year, you failed the drug screen and you were sent to jail for a period of how many days?
I was sent to jail for 30 days.
And then you continued in a treatment program until what time?
90 days.
So until approximately October, November of 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those the only two treatment facilities that you attended? Or two treatment programs that you attended, the one in 16 and the one in 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is your sobriety date?
My sobriety date is November 17th, 2000. Because I just celebrated 2 years in November this last year. So,
So November 17th, 2019 is your sobriety date?
yes, ma'am.
Could you tell this board, I understand that you've admitted to taking hydrocodone while employed. Could you tell the board what other drugs you were addicted to?
Other drugs? Okay. Methamphetamine, marijuana. That's it.
Hydrocodone?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you addicted to alcohol?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there other drugs in addition to those 4 that you were addicted to during this time?
No, ma'am. It's the methamphetamine, hydrocodone, marijuana, alcohol. Those were drugs that I used, if not daily, every other day. Occasionally, I would take Xanax.
You said your use of this was either daily or every other day.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start abusing narcotics?
I started abusing narcotics in 2013 after the death of my brother.
Were you also, circling back to my previous question, were you also addicted to ice,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
PCP?
That was an occasional use. Occasional meaning, once every 3 or 4 months.
What about Lorset?
Yes, ma'am. That was often, a few times a month, a few times a week.
And all of your issues with these various substances, what did they begin with? What drug was your first drug of choice?
My first drug of choice was alcohol.
When did you start drinking alcohol?
July of 2013.
You never drank alcohol before that time?
I did, but it wasn't often. Like I drank like maybe one time in 6 months. It was like a one time, one day thing.
When you first started drinking alcohol on a more regular basis, it was approximately July of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what narcotic did you move to after that?
So after that, I started smoking marijuana. And marijuana I would do a few times a week, and then I moved to the methamphetamine.
Have you had anything, including alcohol, since November the 17th, 2019, any form of narcotic?
No, ma'am.
How did you obtain these narcotics?
They were given to me.
Were they given to you by pharmacies or were they given to you by individuals?
They were given to me by my spouse at that time.
At any point in this period of time, did you steal narcotics from other locations?
No, ma'am.
You mentioned previously that you lost your children as a result of your drug use. And do you now again have custody of those children?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you complete drug court?
I completed drug court on the exact date. March the 26th, 2020.
And how long did you participate in that program approximately?
Approximately 4 years.
You mentioned that you attend AA meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other meetings that you attend?
Not at this time.
Do you have a sponsor with AA?
Yes.
Who is your sponsor?
Molly Griffin.
Do you attend any other type of support groups other than AA?
I do not.
Do you attend any type of counseling?
No.
Have you gone through any counseling programs? absent the treatment programs we discussed previously.
No,
So you haven't had any counseling outside of AA since November of 2017?
correct.
Are you currently on any medications? What was the date of your last drug screen?
February 2nd.
Of this year, 2022?
Yes,
Mrs. Barrett, were criminal charges brought against you after you stole the hydrocodone from Martha Coker Nursing Home?
yes,
And those were all dismissed, is that correct, and expunged?
yes,
Was that because of your participation in the drug court program?
yes,
Is that the only time you've had criminal charges brought against you?
yes.
Do you have any other criminal history that this panel should be aware of at this time?
No.
If you would turn with me to your application, I believe it's been marked as exhibit B8. What date did you file your application for restoration of your license with this board?
Um, June the 25th, 2021.
If you don't mind, I would like to go through this application
Okay.
with you. Under Part B, there's several questions that were asked. And you answered no to all of these questions, including number 4, has any licensing authority suspended, revoked, or restricted your license or imposed any other disciplinary action? Do you know why you answered no to that question?
Yes, has any license authority? Yes, was that question regarding to my nursing license or to any other type of license in general? Or,
But this is an application for restoration of your
Right.
nursing license. So the question is just, has any licensing authority, whether that be the nursing board or any other board,
okay.
ever suspended, revoked, or restricted your license? And you answered no. And I was
Okay.
curious why you answered no to that question on your application for restoration.
Okay, I misunderstood the question. At the time, I probably thought that it was talking about another license.
And just above that on number 3, the question was, have you been found guilty of professional misconduct, unprofessional conduct, incompetence, or negligence in any state or county, country other than Mississippi? And you answered no. So is it correct that you've never had a license in any other location related to nursing?
Correct.
Just in Mississippi.
And if you would, please turn to the second page of your application. You mentioned your treatment in section 10, July of 2017 through November of 2017. And you discussed that previously, correct?
Correct.
But you did not list your treatment that occurred in 2016. Do you know why you omitted that from your application?
Correct. I felt like the previous was more, I felt like the previous, like using my previous treatment facility was more correct than using a treatment facility before I relapsed. Like this was my most recent.
And under Part C, have you attended any type of continuing education courses since your license was revoked by this board previously?
No,
Have you done anything online? Has there been any type of education since your license was revoked in 2016?
no.
And could you tell the board why you have not completed any type of education?
Yes, I can. I was told by other participants that have been through the program that once I come to a hearing, that if it's been more than 5 years since I've nursed, that the board will probably give me the go-ahead to do my clinical hours and my refresher course program. Also, I have 6 children at home. I work full-time. I attend 3 to 4 meetings a week. At this moment, any extra is it's very, very difficult. I go to my meetings and I have to take all of my children with me. It's a struggle, but once I reach that spot, I will.
Are you concerned, having been licensed in 2012 and not working and nursing since 2015, being almost 7 years out? Are you concerned at all about your competency to practice nursing?
No, ma'am, not whatsoever.
All the questions I have.
All right, thank you, council. Any questions from the board panel?
Ms. Carter, correct? Just want to make sure, I'm going to call you by your right name.
That's fine.
And so I do have a few questions for you. First of all, I will commend you on your 2 years of sobriety.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. But I do have some questions because we all are charged to protect the public at the end of the day.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you currently, based on looking at your assessment, are you continuing your counseling or therapy sessions?
I do not attend counseling or therapy. I attend my meetings and those help me tremendously. At this moment in my life, I don't feel the need for that, only because I underwent that in treatment, but not only that, a lot of the things that I was going through mentally were brought on by the alcohol and drugs. And since having been sober, I do not have any anxiety, depression, or any of that. I give it all to God. I pray, I meditate. I have found other ways to deal with that.
And that was one of my questions. What are you doing to recognize the triggers? Do you
Yes, ma'am.
recognize your triggers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and you answered the meditation,
Mm-hmm.
pray. Okay. Do you have a potential job currently, or where is it that you're wanting to be able to work?
At this moment, I'm unsure. I do, however, have a long-term goal in mind. I would like to go back to nursing school and get my RN, and possibly work in labor and delivery. That's always kind of been a little goal of mine. At the moment, I don't really have a specific place that I would like to work once.
And I'm asking that because where you were previously was in a nursing home setting. Would you feel comfortable being in that setting again?
Yes, ma'am, I would. If I had to work in a nursing home setting, I would. I would prefer to work elsewhere, but if that was the only place, I would for that moment. Yes, ma'am.
And I believe I only have one more question, for you, and I think it's an important one. Because do you believe that, because you're telling us you had a lapse in your sobriety at one point,
Yes, ma'am.
and you've corrected it. Do you believe if you needed to have access to any of these controlled substances, the Norco, the Xanax, we know that the marijuana recommendation is out there. My question is to you, if those things were offered to you by your physician, what would you do?
I would turn them down. Anytime I go to a dentist, a doctor, everyone knows that I'm in recovery. And so that option is not presented to me. And if I choose to go to a different dentist or physician, I let them know that I am in recovery.
I think the only thing else that I would just like to know from you, Ms. Carter, is what can you tell us? And I know you can't give us a guarantee of anything, but what is the best you can tell us that you will give us if we opt to restore?
I can give y'all awesome nurse, somebody that's dedicated. I've always wanted to be a nurse. And, you know, like I've said previous, the guilt, the shame, the remorse, all of those feelings that I had about taking that medication from a patient that I loved, that hurt me. That hurt, that really hurt, and it kept me sick for so long. But as well, I would love to continue my education and, you know, work in either labor or delivery or teach or, you know, just help the community do something with my life.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Ms. Carter, hi, I'm Shirley Jackson.
Hi.
again. I got your name right. For the length of time you have not been in the nursing or the medical field, if the board decides that they want to give you your blessings again, would you be willing to take classes or courses that are required for an update for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, and since the point in time you had to carry your children with you, are you in a position now where your children are stable enough to stay with family or someone while you're taking these classes or refresher courses?
Absolutely.
And this is your new husband?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for it.
Ms. Carter,
Yes, ma'am.
you, like you said, you've just gotten remarried. Have you updated your name with the nursing board on the system, the nurses system yet?
I have not.
You need to make sure you
Okay.
update that, because that's how we get a hold of you and that's how we find you.
Okay.
That way we don't miss any communications.
Okay.
So make sure you update that. And then one of my questions was, like Ms. Shirley said, yeah, it's been a long time since you practiced. Things have changed a lot. And just in the last 2 years, things have changed.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot. Also, you are regularly attending your AA meetings still.
Right.
And you said that you're handling other things in your own way, and I get that. Everybody has to do things a little differently. But if we do decide to do this, we're going to put another stressor on you by having to attend these classes and basically play catch up because you've been out for a long time. Would you honestly consider maybe some counseling? Because like you said, you've got 6 children at home. I raised 5 children, so it's hard. I get it. And then throwing a new stressor on you as far as you have 6 children, you're newly married, you're in recovery, and now let's throw some more education on top of it, and you're still having to work. Have you thought about with that new stress added to you, you might need a little extra help? Do you have anything in mind? Which I know you have a support group at home, you have your AA, but have you thought that you might need maybe a little extra during this time of transition? Has that occurred to you?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
Thank you.
Anything further? Anything further from Ms.?
Mayor.
All right, thank you. Council, you may proceed.
Listening.
Did you have any?
Well, I would just respectfully request that this panel consider the factors that we discussed previously. The length of time that has been since Mrs. Carter practiced nursing, the potential need for, if the board should restore her license, additional instruction, possibly counseling. I do feel that Mrs. Carter is remorseful but I still would request the board look at the severity of the offense, that she took medication from a patient who didn't receive the benefit of that medication. And that it has been quite a while, and that she does have several additional stress factors in her life. And I would just respectfully request the panel to consider those in making its decision related to the restoration of her life. Thank you.
At this time, Ms. Barrett. Have a closing statement.
I just want to say thank you for your time, and that's all.
Council.
There.
Council, do you know, is the licensee here for your next matter?
I do not know if she is present. Mrs. Johns? No, Mrs. Johns is present today.
I can check to see she wasn't earlier. I was just asking because if you may be able to go ahead and hear that one, deliberate on both of them. Or if we needed to go ahead and deliberate on this one, just come back for the next one. But however you want to do it.
It's completely up to the panel what your preference is.
But can we find out if she is here, please?
Yeah, and if so, I mean, if not, I'll go downstairs.
Okay. We'll take a brief reset. license number P 326-925. We shall return shortly with a decision on this matter. Thank you. All right, thank you everyone for your patience. We are back on the record. Entertain a motion for the board panel to return to regular session.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The board is now in regular session. Following deliberation on license number P 326-925, the board panel renders the following: reinstatement with drug-related stipulations to include 60 months probation, a $250 fine, refresher courses, chemical evaluation, psychological evaluation, employer reports, indirect supervision, drug screens, prohibited areas of practice to exclude drug treatment facilities, educational courses to include substance abuse, professional boundaries, drug diversion, ethics, legal liability for nurses. A copy of this order will be forwarded to the licensee within 30 to 45 days. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, you all are excused for this matter.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
board panel, license number P 318141. Council, do we have any preliminary matters?
Yes, Yes, Your Honor, I would request that we mark and enter into evidence exhibits B1, they've been previously marked through B10 in this matter.
B1, 2. They are admitted. You may proceed.
Your Honor, the board calls Floyd Wiley, please.
Yes.
Please state your name, residence, and county of residence and place of employment for the record.
Floyd Wiley, I live in Rankin County and am the bailiff today.
And how long have you worked for the nursing board?
10 years.
And during that time, what positions have you held?
Investigator and bailiff.
And if you would, could you tell us why we're here today?
We're here for a hearing for Diana Johns.
And is she present?
She is not present.
And could you tell this board what you did to verify that she is not present on the premises today?
I checked the computer to see if she was a participant on the Zoom, and she is not. I went to the front of the building, called her names 5 times with no response. I went to the back of the building, called her name 5 times with no response. I checked the visitor sign-in log. She had not signed in. I checked the respondent sign-in sheet. She has not signed in.
And has the board heard anything today requesting this matter be either continued or given a reason for Mrs. John's absence?
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge.
If you would turn to what's been marked as exhibit B5, please, and identify that document for the board.
5 is a notice of today's hearing for Diana
And-
Johns. Sorry.
What date is on this notice?
It is today's date, February the 10th, 2022, or 8:30 a.m.
And if you would turn to the last page of what's been marked as B5. And identify what that document is, please.
It's a copy of a green card for Miss Diana Johns that were sent to her address.
And what is the date on this green card?
Date is January the 10th, 2022.
So on January the 10th, 2022, was there a signature that was indicative that Mrs. Johns received notice of today's hearing?
Yes, it is.
And in that hearing packet was the copy of the complaint, as long as the order suspending her license contained therein.
Yes.
And again, did she show for the hearing today?
No, she is not here.
Your Honor, because Mrs. Johns was properly noticed about today's hearing and this board has heard nothing from Mrs. Johns requesting she either be excused from attendance or requesting this matter be continued, we'd ask that you allow me to make a short closing statement and that we rest on the file. Good morning. My name is Deanne Salzman. I'm a Special Assistant Attorney General with Mississippi Office of the Attorney General, and I'm here today representing the Mississippi Board of Nursing. We are here on the summary suspension of Mrs. John's license to practice practical nursing in the state of Mississippi. This license was summarily suspended pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 73-15-29-4. Mrs. Johns was first licensed to practice practical nursing in the state of Mississippi in August of 2002. The board received a report from a pharmacy notifying it that Mrs. Johns, also known as Mrs. Johns Moody, had dropped off a prescription to be filled on November the 4th, 2021, that had altered the do not fill until date to read a date 3 days earlier. The pharmacy looked at other prescriptions submitted to Mrs. Johns that Mrs. Johns had previously submitted and found 2 additional altered prescriptions from February of 2021. As you heard Mr. Wiley testify to, Mrs. Johns did receive notice to today's hearing, and the board has heard nothing from her requesting the matter be continued or requesting that she be excused from attendance. As such, we would ask that the board render a decision based on the facts and admitted into evidence today. Thank you.
Anything further on this matter, council?
No, Your Honor.
All right, at this time, I entertain a motion for the commission to close for determination as to whether executive session is necessary.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
It's moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. I entertain a motion for the board panel to exit to executive session. Deliberation on license number P 318141.
I will make that motion.
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Board is now in executive session and will return shortly with a decision in this matter.
Motion. I'm gonna go back over here and change it in my paperwork.
Yes, sir. It's been moved and properly seconded. The board panel will return to a regular session. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The board panel is now back in regular session.
There was one that was continued, but that was it.
The next matter that we have is regarding license number P 335792. And the counsel for the state, I understand, has an update regarding this matter for the board. The counsel for this matter has an update for the panel regarding this.
I do. As I stated, my name is Lyser Hayes, and I'm also a special assistant AG. And this morning, Ms. Ransom did appear, but decided that she would go ahead and enter her plea of guilty and has since surrendered her license. We do have a copy. I signed the order, and I would ask respectfully that you all will convene into executive session and determine whether or not you will accept her surrender. Do you need any other information regarding this matter, Your Honor?
I see where we have received a copy of that executed voluntary surrender. I think that'll be sufficient, counsel.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
But at this time, I entertain a motion for the board panel to close the meeting to determine whether executive session is necessary for deliberation on license number P 318141.
I will make that motion.
All right, hold on.
I'm sorry.
And license number P 335-792.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Board will now entertain a motion for the board panel to exit to executive session for deliberation on license number P318141, license number P335792.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded for the board to exit to executive session for deliberation on board mentioned license numbers. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. The board panel is now in executive session and will return following deliberation on those two license numbers. For your patience, we are back on the record. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the board panel to return to regular session.
I'll make that motion.
Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying
Uh,
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The board panel is now back in regular session. Following deliberation on license number P 318141, the board panel renders the following. The license is revoked. Following deliberation on license number P 335792, board panel accepts voluntary surrender of that license. Have any further matters before the board panel today, council?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
All right, thank you everyone for your attendance and adjourned and.